Recently, the PCSX2 team put out a very interesting post. For anyone entirely out of the loop on what this project is, basically on the desktop, this is the premier PS2 emulator. Here is the post. Because GNOME and KDE now have concrete plans to drop X11, we want you to know that PCSX2 supports Wayland natively and should support X11 for the foreseeable future. All regular contributors/testers who use Linux, except one, use Wayland. So should an X11 specific problem somehow crop up, expect great latency from introduction to resolution, we'd be very unlikely to find it ourselves and will instead be relying on user reports. We'll let you know if and when and why this changes. With a lot of Wayland users on the project, this is a good thing for the future of PCSX2. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up isn't just this post. It's how we got here, because there is a story that a lot of you may not know about, as it happened a couple of years ago at this point, that I kind of wanted to go back and relive. So here we have the GitHub repo for PCSX2, and back in 2023, you might remember something happening. This PR was made by Stenzek. If the name Stenzek sounds familiar, it should. If you watched my DuckStation videos, this is the DuckStation guy. This is somebody who has been involved in many a drama, many of which they created themselves, but they are well known in the emulation space. The most recent thing you might recall is Stenzek really not being happy with the existence of the AUR version of DuckStation and tried really hard to either get the package removed or break the package from working. If you want to know more about Stenzek, there is a lot to be said. Go check out that prior DuckStation video. Things get really deep. There's a lot of history here, and we're not going to go back into it because it's not really the main focus of what I want to talk about today. Instead, I want to talk about CI Linux, Disable Wayland, and Spring Cleaning from October 25th, 2023. This part up the top here, this was not here when I made my video because this part here was added in response to my video. I don't know why it was in response, because half the things that are mentioned here I didn't even talk about, but Stenzek didn't particularly like that I talked about this happening. Anyway, let's talk about the original part first. Disables Wayland. It's super broken / buggy in basically every scenario. KDE isn't too buggy. GNOME is a complete disaster. So, there are a lot of cases that people complain about problems with Wayland. And from my experience, not everything. There are definitely problems just generally on Wayland. A lot of GNOME problems, GNOME-specific problems, get blamed on Wayland in its entirety. Stupid obsession with CSD in GNOME, inconsistency. This leads to a lot of applications basically being forced to include a new dependency, or to just include CSD to not break on this one platform that doesn't want to do things properly. Inability to position windows. Window position saving doesn't work. Log window attaching not merged yet doesn't work. Inability to position windows. This nowadays would be part of the ext zones protocol. At the time, we actually weren't up to ext zones yet. I believe it was still ext placement. Window saving, this actually is something that is coming to Wayland eventually. Basically, everyone is in agreement that session restoration is a good thing. It's just very complicated because you need to implement things in basically every toolkit and every environment and do things consistently. It's a difficult problem. Hacks in render domain because Wayland craps itself otherwise. To this day, I still don't know what he is referring to here. Despite said hacks, game list still glitches after stopping emulation happens more often in GNOME. NVIDIA just crashes in swap chain creation under Wayland. At the time, NVIDIA support was considerably worse. This was in late 2023. And then keep in mind that some people are going to be running older drivers because they're on an LTS distro. And then broken global menus. This is also mainly caused by the GNOME side. Now, somebody, of course, had to join the thread and say something stupid, and this was Stenzek's response. It's not removed at all. This is one of the things he loves to do. It is one of these sort of pedantic, unimportant differences. If you read the title or description, you'd see it is disabled in our release builds, because it's nothing but headaches for us, because of its broken by design nature, causing issues for users. I listed a bunch of them in the OP as well. If you use the Flatpak, it's even just a single flat seal command to re-enable. PCSX2 runs fine under X Wayland. In fact, it runs much better than under native Wayland. I would not be surprised about that. That makes a lot of sense, because it doesn't have all of the above issues. Don't get me wrong, X11 is terrible code and should have been purged a decade ago, but Wayland is just broken, and everyone would rather sit around arguing with each other instead of actually addressing the design flaws. I actually agree with this. I completely agree with this take. Since then, it has been removed as you don't need to go and use it, but at the time, there was an environment variable to re-enable the Wayland support. I want a broken Wayland UI. And you know what? I still think that's a great name. For some perspective on why we as developers are frustrated with Wayland, and this links over to the start of my favorite protocol, EXT placement. EXT placement was an earlier approach from EXT zones. It's the window placement protocol. It is the thing which, if you talk about, will get a lot of Wayland people very, very angry with you. It's not the first time such a proposal has been put forward. I think there was a proposal probably from the start of Wayland. Something that developers need for their applications to work properly on Wayland, particularly multi-window applications, and it gets vetoed. Every other OS manages this fine, but apparently we're in the wrong for not conforming to some warped view of how applications should be, despite our applications working fine on every other platform, especially the GNOME folks. Not everyone wants the rubbish that they call GTK. As you can tell, Stenzek is not exactly a fan of GNOME or GTK. And don't give me the, but I don't use GNOME, I use wroots, kwin, or whatever, it works fine. That's good for you, then build from source or use the Flatpak plus Flatseal. Unfortunately, a good chunk, if not the majority of Linux users, end up with GNOME, and they get the crap experience. And we can't really say, if GNOME, disable Wayland, since Qt makes that decision, not us. What you can do is do what Valve used to do. I don't know if it's still on the documentation. Hold up, it is still here. On the SteamVR for Linux page, the workaround for GNOME is just install KDE. And Stenzek also got into a big fight with someone who has since deleted their account. Now, I want to address what was added up the top here, because I don't understand why he got particularly annoyed with me, because when I made my video, it was already popular on Reddit, on Hacker News. Everybody knew this was happening. I was like a week late to talking about it. Everybody else, as can be seen by the fact that people were applying to the thread, already knew about this. He mentions the existence of the I want a broken Wayland UI environment variable, which I specifically mentioned in my video. This PR is over a month old. The code's been in PCSX2 for a month. X Wayland works fine, nothing changed, the roof didn't cave in. Nobody actually cared until apparently some YouTuber made a video about it. The change... Also, as I said, the comments were made before my video, like 3 weeks before it came out. The only change was a reduction in support requests. You're being drawn into a drama where there is none. There was no drama. I was just talking about this happening. The drama is in your head. I was the one who implemented Wayland support in the first place. This isn't some anti-Wayland crusade. I do know there were people besides me that were definitely trying to make that case, obviously. Every time Wayland comes up and someone does something that is not fully in support of Wayland, you have this group of people that jump on and it's like, oh my god, this is our crusader, this is our leader, this is the person who's gonna save us from Wayland. It causes issues, most of which are caused by Qt Wayland, some are caused by the protocol itself. I want nothing more than to see Wayland succeed, but at the moment it is unusable for a majority of users. Definitely not for a majority. For for a lot of people, though. I'll definitely give you that. Both myself and the rest of the PCSX2 team are open to suggestions on how to fix these issues. We're not Firefox, GIMP, etc. We're too small and irrelevant for any of the DE maintainers to care about. Don't you worry, because Firefox, GIMP, and a bunch of other big projects are also too small to have Wayland problems fixed. Now, since around mid-2024, Stenzek hasn't actually been involved in the project. At least involved in the project on his main account, because Stenzek has been known to be an alt enjoyer in many of the other projects he uses and develops. So, is he still here? Nobody knows. And earlier this year, this PR was made. Wayland, fix and enable by default. And for this, there was a discovery of an upstream Qt bug that was affecting the project. This is the Qt bug in particular. Qt bug 133919, and their Jira will take forever to load. Wayland rendering bug when using native Windows on GNOME and Western. When using native window rendering within Qt, which is necessary if you want to paint in the widget manually, say for Vulkan surfaces, various refreshing artifacts appear on Wayland and the native Qt UI elements become garbled. This happens on Wayland compositors that do not implement SSD, specifically Mutter, GNOME, and Western. The UI works fine on KDE. Now, there was some debate about whether or not this actually was a bug, because the way they're approaching the problem isn't exactly the proper way to do things in Qt. It's maybe probably a bug, but like, there's a better way to be handling this. So we went from, in 2023, disabling Wayland support by default because Wayland is cooked, Wayland doesn't work, this is a waste of time right now, we'll deal with it later, we'll improve things, and we'll get to it. And then eventually enabling Wayland support by default, so anybody using PCSX2 on Wayland is going to be running the Wayland native version, and now making sure that people know, because they probably never saw the update and didn't actually know that Wayland support was even enabled in the project. And since I covered the original story back in 2023, I thought it'd only be fitting to cover the finale and show you where we are today. So let me know your thoughts. Are you a dirty PCSX2 enjoyer? I'd love to know. Go subscribe. Are you running Wayland? Let me know. If you like the video, go like the video. If you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Silly Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and video games. Something like this.